to the DraftKings tight end analysis for Week 5. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Russ broke down some cash game value and GPP tight ends for this week. Overall, I feel like through the first 4 weeks, we've kind of talked about a lot of the same guys. It looks like you kind of differ a little bit here.
Yeah, well, a little bit.
At least with the first name, maybe that just threw me off.
Yeah, I'm pretty lame. I'm pretty boring, and pretty boring. Kind of like nothing really that exciting. I do have Martellus Bennett in there as a cash game guy. I think he's interesting. But yeah, generally speaking, I think cash games will be decided in which mid 3K tight end you play between Martellus Bennett, Zach Ertz, and Hunter Henry, and that group there, I think, is going to decide cash games in some ways. We can get into the first one I mentioned. Martellus Bennett obviously has 2 100-yard receiving games already this year with not Tom Brady in the lineup. I think Gronk, there's no debating Gronk is the better player. As far as the better play, though, I just feel much safer with that salary at 37 instead of 6,500 for Gronk. I think that's just a little egregious for what he's been running. He's been blocking a lot, and I think that'll shift as the season goes along and as he gets more healthy with that hamstring. But overall, right now, I look at Martellus as the 1B behind Edelman, and if that's the case, you're looking at 2 touchdown potential. Not even that crazy to say he has 2 touchdown potential with Brady back.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he is the guy behind Edelman. You look at the wide receiver core, it's just, you have Danny Amendola, you have Chris Hogan. There's no real emerging guy back there, and Martellus Bennett's probably the safer bet at that price tag, as you mentioned. You also look at Zach Miller, who's 100 cheaper, who probably going to be relied on quite a bit while Brian Hoyer's under center.
Yeah, and so I think we bring Zach Ertz right into this conversation here because they're going to be, where the decisions are made this week. I like Ertz. I love the play. First week back from a fairly significant injury. A rib that, they cleared him 100%, but I don't know if he's going to run a full plate of snaps this week, and that's my only worry. If you get caught in one of those game flow games where maybe it doesn't go as, predicted for the Eagles, maybe they blow them out and have a few Darren Sproles big plays or something goofy happens, they're probably not going to want to, give him 10 targets this week. So Zach Miller feels safe to me. Obviously, Kevin White on IR facing this Colts defense that's just been horrendous. So I'm looking at Miller. Obviously Brian Hoyer and the Bears offense doesn't have an unlimited upside, but if they do score 3 touchdowns, I'd say Miller has a pretty decent chance at catching one of them. And as far as Eddie Royal goes, I know he's questionable along with Miller. If they both play, I'm actually pretty confident in both of them. To get their share. 3,600 certainly isn't 2,700. Obviously, they gave him a big boost after he was only 27 last week. But I don't mind it still. He's still in a range where pretty tame at 36.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. And as you pointed out, I think the snaps is kind of where we draw the breakdown in terms of being GPP and cash with these two guys. I like Ertz. Obviously the matchup for both of them are certainly a plus. You also talk about Hunter Henry at 3,300 going up against an Oakland defense that really hasn't figured it out yet.
So if Gates plays, I think this might be an interesting contrarian move here because even when Gates was playing, he was only playing, goal line specific snaps, and they were playing 2 tight ends anyway on those snaps. And, he was only playing past the 50-yard line. So I think there's opportunity for, Hunter Henry to get 6 to 8 targets again. Even if Gates is playing, if he is, I think you do hedge off this unless you're playing deep tournaments and a Rivers lineup. But if he's not again, Oakland's been bleeding, passing yards. So Dontrell Inman and Travis Benjamin and, Tyrell Williams, whatever they're doing with that is probably going to figure itself out. But I just think, Hunter Henry, steady Eddie, played really well. I really wouldn't be surprised if they continue giving him a role even with Gates back. He's looked really good. So 3,300, it's a nice little discount, 3 to 400 if you're looking to pay down and make a contrarian tournament lineup. I think that's a viable way to go. And the last pay down here, again, this week isn't like last week in terms of values. Last week was like, oh, two guys at 2,700. This isn't that week. Jesse James, interesting touchdown guy against this Jets team. Obviously, Jets have been giving up the big plays, but I think in the red zone, James is a main target there. So I do like that. As far as, his floor, it's certainly low. I mean, if he doesn't catch a touchdown, you're really, not looking too hot there. But if you're playing a Roethlisberger lineup and you want to swap off of Sammy Coates, maybe you make that move to Jesse James. I'm assuming you're playing Antonio Brown, but I think you can make that swerve and feel comfortable with it.
The Steelers are always fun because when they have these big totals where it's near 4 touchdowns and we know the 5-6 touchdown upsides there's always different pieces that get a piece of the pie. So Jesse James could be one of those guys. And as you mentioned, I mean, under 3K, that's kind of the real punt option.
Sort of an underrated, it's not underrated, but like when Roethlisberger was healthy last year, the Steelers were by far the best offense in the league. It wasn't even, and I mean, the season long numbers kind of skew that because he was hurt and then, guys were missing but him and Antonio Brown were breaking records. Marcus Wheaton was getting 200-yard games somehow, Martavis Bryant was being Martavis Bryant and then getting suspended, and then, I mean, that offense is straight up incredible. So, I look at Jesse James as a piece of that pie, like you mentioned. There is that 5 touchdown upside. I mean, we saw it last week. I think we could see it again.
Yeah, I definitely do too against this Jets defense. So that's going to wrap things up with this week's DraftKings tight end analysis. Be sure to head on over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out our great tools and content. If you like what we're doing with these videos, be sure to give us a subscribe, give us a couple likes and thumbs up on these videos as well.